Hi, this is Ann Judd for Railside Report, and I'm sitting here next to the Pony Man, Gib Marcucci, all the way from Iowa. And the first time I ever went to your place, Gib, I came up through some cornfields, and here, trotting right down the middle of the road, the highway, was Gib driving a pony. Do you still do that?
Still got the same highway. Still there.
And do you drive your pony?
Still do it. Still do it.
So I could come back and watch you come through down that highway with those ponies.
30 days a week, 30 days a month.
How long have you been doing this, Gib?
Since about 60 years.
Just 60 years. And any particular favorites that come to mind? That's a hard thing right out of the blue. But if you can think of a couple, then tell me why.
I guess one of my favorites was Top Hat. He was a pony that I bought, and he really did good for me. We beat everybody, but not at every show. He was a great pony.
Why was Top Hat particularly special? Because you had a lot of great winning ponies.
He just had a big heart. He always gave you everything he wanted. And at one time they thought he was all done, and I brought him off Donna Moore. And we took him from the Kansas City, where he's out of the money, to Chicago, and he won the stake with him. And from then on in, it was all honey and gold almost. Any
wonderful show that's no longer in existence that you really miss because you've been to some? You mentioned Chicago, and that made me think about that.
The International was only, I went there when I was really young, almost a kid. I guess Devon is a show I don't go to anymore, that you show in front of a crowd there, and at the time I went, we used to have a lot of ponies at last. I can remember when we showed, and there was 14 in the stake. Now sometimes there's not 14 ponies on the whole grounds. So it's changed a little.
It has. Any ideas for the future that you have? I think we all have some things in our minds that would help, but you've been doing this a long time. Any thoughts on that?
I think the one thing is that we've kind of priced ourselves out of the market, but if you're the one that's selling the pony and getting the money, it's great.
Well, it's a good point. It's a hard thing to fix, but it's certainly a valid point. It's very hard to get someone in a starter level. UPHA's done a wonderful job with the incentive programs and maybe trying to get the grassroots shows back. In Railside Report, we're trying to get the crowd base back. You mentioned Devon being such a great show to show because of the crowd, and that is fun, isn't it? Not just the competition, but the crowd.
It is, but it's not the saddle horses that bring it, it's the hunter jumpers that bring it. They're the ones that bring it. They start showing at 8 o'clock in the morning there. And if we would, when we went there, if we would have not, me myself, but if they would have quit saddle horses, the hunter jumper people would have slipped right in and filled everything up. Now it is a hunter jumper carriage show, so to speak. The carriage people are doing a great job.
The grassroots shows, we need those back desperately and get that base. And part of my mission with Railside Report is to try to get the audiences back, educate people so they go home and they want to show, but they got to have a place to show and start too, right?
Right. We just don't have any little shows. When I was a kid, we had probably 30, 40 shows within 100 mile of us. Now we got about 3.
Well, in Kentucky, you know, the county fairs, that's one of the, they are lucky and they're still going, but I think maybe that's a great deal for the UPHA to try to go toward and build that base back again. And I know a lot of the classes and stuff that they've added, the UPHA classes for the kids, that's helped a little. But we'll have to come up with, maybe need to come to Louisiana for the convention, and we'll all get busy because that really needs addressing. The crowds, the education, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but Ann, you're getting right back to the same thing we started with here. Who's going to go out and give $150,000 for a horse? Like we used to go to these little grassroots show, we'd tie to the side of the trailer, maybe tie to a snow fence. Who's going to do that with a high-priced horse? He's no better now than he was back then. It's just that It's just like a gallon of gas is $3 now. Used to be 17 cents when I started driving. It's just everything is just escalated. You get the same value, but it just costs you something more.
Well,
Try not to hold the mic too close to your mouth.
we were seeing that in everything. I remember nickel cokes and all that. It's hard for us to change, and it's hard for us to see the change. Some of it's for the better. I think the quality, and maybe we could address this and end on a little bit more confident note. The Hackney ponies are changing. They are exciting, maybe a little more exciting than they used to be to watch. Do you have any thoughts on the actual look of the Hackney pony and where they're headed?
I don't know where they're headed, and it kind of bothers me because we used to have the Hackney pony was built for stability. They weren't a very pretty pony at times. But the saddle horse people started getting in and getting one. They wanted prettiness, so we sacrificed motion and stability for prettiness to sell them to them. And now I don't know where we are. We've got ponies that can't pull a buggy sometimes. Got a lot more ponies that are making a noise, breathing hard. And I'm not blaming the saddle horse people. It's just that we've changed our breeding techniques, and we need to go back to some of the old techniques, I think.
Well, that's an interesting comment because we did that with the saddlebred too, and we talked about earlier about bringing back some of the blood that we almost lost. It went to South Africa. It kind of got put in a time capsule there because of the trade sanctions and such, and we were lucky enough to be able to go and bring it back. It didn't die out. Do you feel like we lost some of the substance, we got pretty, and we lost some of the motion, and now we're beginning to get some of that substance and such back by bringing some of that old blood back. Not laying blame on anybody for fining everything up, and prettier is always nice to see, but maybe some of that substance needs to come back too.
Yeah, we do, but I don't know where we're going to get it at. We've got these fine ponies. We used to get them from over in England, but now they're coming over here and buying our ponies, taking them over there.
Well, we don't have that time capsule that we had for the saddlebred with South Africa.
That's very true. We went over there a couple of years ago to look, and I didn't see anything that we could bring back here that would win for us.
Well, it's interesting. We are seeing some exciting classes. We've seen some nice ponies here, very small classes, sadly. I know they go back-to-back with the Royal Winter Fair, and I think they had a lot of ponies at that show. That's a very exciting show to show. But it is just ponies and Hackney horses that week, and maybe roadsters, I believe.
Roadsters.
Right. So that's a hard thing to compete with. Have you shown at the Winter Fair?
Used to show there 15 or so years ago. Showed there for about 20 years in a row. But we don't go anymore. I had a lot of Canadian customers at that time, and they wanted to show there. But the Canadian show has built itself on etiquette, and everything is top hat.
Like old Madison Square, the tradition.
That's just what it's like. It's just tradition, and they're going to stay that way. And they got rid of the saddle horses because they wouldn't fill. The rest of them stepped right up. The roadsters have always filled, and the carriage horses have done well. And now they've got draft horses. It's a whale of a draft horse show. And, of course, it's always been hunter jumpers. That'll be it forever.
Well, it's a very exciting level of hunter jumpers there. And I'm just curious, why did you choose the Royal? Mainly because this is more accessible to you. This Royal, not the Winter Fair, to show this year.
To show this year, the customers wanted to come, to be honest with you. I've had a lot of problems this year, and I wasn't really going to come, but they wanted to. And it didn't make any difference to me.
It's a little closer.
Yeah, a lot closer.
And I bet a lot cheaper. This is a great facility now. They're really trying hard. UPHA's kind of stepped in, and I think they're trying hard to make it a first-class show again. Don't you agree?
But they need to get a crowd somehow. We need to get a crowd. I can remember when we showed down here, them stands were full.
Well, that's what Railside Report's trying to do, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, no.
And to make a horse show fun again, where they can understand and hear some jokes, it's not just to educate the crowd, but but there are people that have been coming for 50 years that are listening in and enjoying it because we're telling some great stories and doing interviews with people like yourself. And we hope that you keep coming back, and that things continue to go as well for the pony man himself, Mr. Gib Marcucci. This is Ann Judd for Railside Report with Gib Marcucci sitting here in front of his stalls at the American Royal Horse Show.